Alright, so moving on to Dark Elf turn 2. This is basically where the fighting starts. In my turn 2, I'm going to charge his salamanders in the front with my depleted warriors. I'm going to charge my Lord out of my Cold One Knight unit into his Temple Guard. And my Lord has the Penitent of Caliph and the Crown of Command, and a couple other magic items, so he's extremely difficult to kill, and he's Stubborn 10. So my plan basically is to have him keep that unit from killing any of my stuff for the whole game, or well, either for the whole game or until I can arrange like a flank charge or a rear charge against it. So we'll see. Also, my warriors on the left flank charge the flank of his Saurus warriors that are behind that defended obstacle, so they don't have to. But because they charge the flank, they kind of avoid the obstacle. My cold ones would have charged with them, but they're pretty intimidated by that obstacle, so they don't charge. Instead, they are going to do a fast reform into a narrower formation to fit through the gap, kind of run through between his Saurus warriors and his Temple Guard to try and set up for a flank charge against the Temple Guard. And then my crossbowmen are also going to do a fast reform to turn and face his pterodons that are sitting next to my bolt thrower. And then beyond that, basically all of my movement is advancing my cauldron slightly and moving my dark riders behind his line. My magic phase is somewhat eventful. I basically throw all of my dice into casting Occam's Mind Razor onto my Cold One Knights that are still stuck in close combat against his Saurus warriors. So I actually get that with irresistible force, but the resulting loss of control loses a level on the sorceress in my warriors that knows shadow magic. So I will not be able to cast Occam's Mind Razor again, and I think I attempt to cast a fireball at his pterodons, but it's dispelled. My shooting phase is more successful though. That unit of crossbowmen that turned to face his pterodons, my sorceress has the guiding eye, which lets me once per game have her and everyone in her unit re-roll failed rolls to hit with shooting attacks. So I just hit those pterodons with a monstrous volley of like 40 crossbow shots, re-rolling misses, and that wipes them out. So they're no longer threatening my bolt throwers. And then the bolt thrower takes a shot at his Croxagore with a single bolt, and I managed to kill one and put a wound on another. And that brings us to close combat. My Lord challenges, and his Saurus Scar Veteran accepts. Even with regeneration, my Lord manages to kill the Scar Veteran and takes no damage himself. He still loses combat, but he's Stubborn 10, so he doesn't have a problem. Then my Cold One Knights with Occam's Mind Razor, they kill a lot of Saurus. I think like 6 or 7. But the counterattacks are enough to wipe out the unit, so that's that. Then my warriors in the flank of his Saurus warriors, they might kill 1 or 2, but they basically don't do any damage, and they win combat because of ranks and static resolution. But with cold-blooded and the general leadership and a battle standard bearer reroll, the Saurus don't go anywhere. Although fortunately for me, they attempt to do a combat reform and fail. And then my other warriors have an assassin in them, so they charge the salamanders. They do a bunch of wounds, something like 4 wounds to the salamanders and 5 to the handlers. Win combat. The salamanders break, but neither of the units flee very far, and the salamanders get away. So that brings us to Lizardmen turn 3. He doesn't have any charges to declare this turn. He does bring his remaining skink unit around to shoot my crossbowmen. He'll turn his Saurus warriors that just beat my Cold One Knights to face my Dark Riders, and he'll also turn his Croxagore again to face my warriors. Now that was meant to be a fast reform, but he failed his check, so that's all they're doing this turn. So I'm beginning the Lizardmen player's magic phase with a picture of the great albino Sphinx that he attempted to summon. On a more serious note, he starts off by he recasts the regeneration spell on his Temple Guard unit, so they'll have a 4+ regeneration because he still has the Throne of Vines in effect. Then he's going to cast Regrowth on his salamanders. Now this was kind of odd because he got back the salamander that I killed, but that made it so that the unit was within this forest, and we rolled for the mysterious forest, and it turned out to be a bloodwood or whatever it was, which attacks the unit and then moves if you cast a spell at a unit in the forest. And so the spell that brought back the salamanders wound up making the forest eat the salamanders that had just been brought back. So and he also had a loss of 2 skink crewmen, and then you can see where the forest scattered. So that was kind of a wash. And then on his next spell, this was the one that I was holding out my dispel dice to stop. He cast Flesh to Stone on his Saurus block that was fighting my warriors. Now, unfortunately for me, he rolled an irresistible force, and then he used his cupped hands of the old ones to pass the miscast result onto my fire mage and my crossbowman. And I rolled the result with the strength 10 hits with a small template. So the net result was that his Saurus warriors in the combat with my warriors went to toughness 8, and 7 of my crossbowmen died, and my sorceress took a wound. So in his shooting, his skinks are going to shoot at my poor crossbowmen, and they kill a few more of them. In close combat, first of all, my lord is going to just stay fighting his temple guard. I think he might kill 1 or 2 more. I didn't really keep track. But my warriors fighting his Saurus warriors are going to just fail to do any damage at all. And this time the Saurus pass their roll to do the combat reform. So now I'm not fighting them in the flank, I'm fighting them in the front, and they are going to still have toughness 8 in the next round of close combat. So that's not good. So here's the board at the start of Dark Elf turn 3. Again, I'm going to charge his salamanders with my warriors. My Dark Riders are also going to charge the front of his weakened unit of Saurus warriors in the center. Here, I was thinking that if I buffed them up with the Cauldron of Blood, the Saurus unit might be narrow enough that I'd be able to break through and run them down. Then I'm also going to attempt 2 free reforms. My crossbowmen are going to try to free reform to face his skink skirmishers, and my cold ones are going to try and free reform to face his Saurus warriors that are fighting my warriors, and both of them fail to do so. I don't do a whole lot in my magic phase. I just managed to dispel Shield of Vines on his salamanders. And then in my shooting phase, my crossbowmen don't get to shoot because of failing their quick reform. So my bolt thrower kills a couple skinks, and that's about it. And combat is a little painful. His Saurus warriors are now facing me, and they're toughness 8. So I attack and just don't really do anything of significance. He attacks back and does a bunch of wounds. I wind up losing combat by several points, and I'm not steadfast by, I think, 1 casualty, so they break and are run down. Again, my lord's going to, I think, kill 1 or 2 temple guard and stay put. And my other unit of warriors with the assassin, they're going to again do a ton of wounds to the salamanders. The salamanders break, and this time the warriors run them down and end up right by that table edge. And then my Dark Riders that charge the Saurus, they are going to get quite a few kills. I think they bring the unit down to about 5. But then there are only going to be, I believe, 2 of them left. So after the Saurus attacks, so I don't remember who wins, but I think the Saurus do. But the Dark Riders wind up staying put.